Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network.
'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven.
A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at UBNradio.com.
It's time for the Bonnie Sher Show, a whirlwind of wit, wisdom, celebrity, and the boomer life. With a little bit of this and a lot of that and so much more you don't want to miss, here's Bonnie.
Well, hello. Welcome, old friends and new, from near and afar. I'm your host, Bonnie Sher. Am I doing okay, Jarvis? I'm looking in the camera, Jarvis. That's Jarvis telling me what to do. But anyway, so what I'm here to do today, now that I've introduced you to Jarvis, is to sort of escort you through the world of celebrity, the great boomer generation, and of course, my tribe of T1 diabetics. So I want to thank you for tuning in, and feel free to share your thoughts. Nice thoughts. My call-in number here is 323-843-2826. Or you can tweet the hashtag. That's #BSher. That's SHER radio. So before we get this show on the road, I want to acknowledge jazz great Wayne Cobham for my super duper hero theme song. And also Corey Bone of Crown and Anchor Jewelry, who allows me to wear his jewelry in exchange for this promotional mention. You can find Corey on Twitter. It's Corey Bowen, Boan, Crown and Anchor Jewelry. When we come back, top saxophonist Reinhold Schwartzwald is with me today. Be right back.
Your life story is more than the things you do. It's a story built on the moments you make today and the impact you have on others. How big is your story going to be? Live your legend.
And we're back. I have with me today a phenomenal musician, jazz saxophonist. And by the way, in my next life, I'll probably still be a diabetic, but I'm coming back as a saxophone player. God, you guys are too cool for the room. So welcome, Reinhold. And thanks for taking your time to come in and have a schmooze with me. That is a very Viennese word, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, Bonnie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Listen, I've heard you play, and it's true. I do love me a saxophone, but boy, oh boy, you can play that, baby, which takes me to my next comment. Well, we'll wait on that comment, but I have an idea. Let's let the audience know a little bit more about you. I read that you have opened for Ray Charles. That must have been pretty freaking exciting.
Yes, that was really awesome. That was a great experience. It was out in Pasadena at the Verizon Festival, and it was one of Ray Charles' last performances, sadly, but it was an amazing concert. He was fantastic as always. I have always been a big
I
fan
have
of Ray Charles.
goosebumps just thinking about it.
Oh my
right?
God, it was so great. And I always loved Ray Charles, of course. I was a big fan since I was a kid, listening to his music.
Which was about 2 months ago.
That's right. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
I remember.
About 2.5 months ago. And so it was terrific to open for him with my band. That was really great, yes.
That's incredible. Can you tell me a little bit about where your inspiration comes from? I mean, first of all, I love jazz, as we were chatting about a minute ago. Bending notes. It doesn't have
Right.
to be on the measure. It doesn't. Lyrics, however, I find you really kind of have to keep straight with your lyrics. But your music, see, you can play with that. So I know, and I read that your parents were both musicians. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct. I come from a music family and was very blessed in that way. And I'm grateful to my parents. I want to say thank you to them right
Did you
here.
hear that, Danny?
Well, they may see the show not in direct, but maybe in the next few days or so if I can show it to them. But it was great to grow up in a household where there was music around all the time, and so my mom played piano, my dad guitar and other instruments, and so
And how did you happen to pick up a sax?
yeah, that's actually quite interesting because. I was hiding under the piano when my mom was playing the piano. So
I only hid under the piano when I didn't want to practice.
Yeah, so I was hiding under the piano and I was playing there when I was 3, 4, 5 years old. And then my dad was playing out in clubs and he was a professional musician. And then, he wanted to teach me guitar. But you know how it is, like as a kid, you don't want to pick the instrument that your dad is playing.
Well,
So
of
there's
course
it's
not.
a little bit too much competition there. It's like-
You know what? That's a very interesting point. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah. So then I started to get piano lessons, and then I heard friends came to the house and they brought a record of the Benny Goodman Carnegie Hall Jazz Concert, and I heard that clarinet, and I loved that clarinet, I loved that sound and all that big band sound, and it was so cool. And so then I wanted to start playing clarinet, and then later on, of course, I got to the sax, and
Do you play horn also? Do you play horn also?
no,
Just.
yeah, that's right.
Just.
Right. So that's how I got to the sax. But I was always very inspired by singers, I have to say. The great singers, the great jazz singers inspired me a lot. Ella Fitzgerald, Louis Armstrong, Nat King Cole, and of course Sammy Davis Jr., and Ray Charles, and Etta James, and Dinah Washington, and all these singers. I just love the way that they delivered melody and they delivered a song, and what they did with the notes and how they bent the notes and how they made the notes really sound beautiful and extraordinary. How they created.
You and I apparently went to the same school in different continents, but that was pretty much the memo that I got.
And my parents, they took me to a Sammy Davis Jr. concert, actually, when I was 11 or 12 years old, and I'm still very grateful to them for doing
And was
this.
that
was in Vienna. That was in Vienna, and where I'm from is about 2.5 hours from Vienna. So they took me out of school so that we could go to Vienna, see the concert, and then stay overnight in Vienna, and then come back the next day. So I wouldn't even go to school. So my parents took me out of school, and they say, "Well, we have something important to do, and we take our son out of school." I said, "Okay," got the permit, and I saw Sammy Davis live, and it was amazing at the Vienna Concert Hall. That was such a seminal moment for me to see this. The greatest.
Was that in the late 60s, early 70s?
That was about, I think it was like 77 or something like that.
Yeah, he didn't take me along. We could have met
Otherwise,
then.
we could have met then.
Right? I would have had you on the show long ago.
That would be nice.
Now, there's a note that I have here about a hit single that you came out with called Sunset.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? Is that a full instrumental as well?
Yeah, that's an instrumental song, and I wrote that song together with Patrice Russian, and that song that got on the radio and did really, really well. So it was all around the country, and it was on the charts and so forth. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
what I saw.
it's like
Okay, so we know that you do recording, but my question to you is, do you prefer being in a studio or do you like to work live?
I love being on stage live. I love to. It's just something about the live performance, and it doesn't mean that I don't like to be in the recording studio. I love that very much too. But there's something about the live performance where there is no going back. It's like really the highest.
Yes.
It's like the highest art of the performing arts, right? There's no going back. You can't say, "Hey, oops, let's do this again." I mean, you can.
You
know,
can.
do that.
Sometimes you kind of have
And
to.
it can, funny moments and great moments can come out of this, but there is something about the live performance and that energy that comes together when a band plays together and when you're in front of the audience. I really love it. Yeah.
I know that you see. I mean, for me, it's immediate gratification.
Yeah, that's right.
And
That's-
recording, you're right. I mean, you
Yes.
put it down, it's down.
Exactly.
And you can leave that night or afternoon thinking, gee, that
Right.
really went great. And then the next morning, well, and then there it is, and it can't be changed anymore.
It can't be changed anymore, yeah. But when I'm in studio, actually, I almost like work. I mean, of course, you have a certain way, and technology allows you to work in a certain way, but I very much, when I'm in studio, I'm very much like a 1, 2, 3 take person. Beyond the third take, I don't
That's
go
why
beyond
everybody
the
loves
third.
you.
And that's just it's really that way because you got the energy right there. You got you have that moment. It's that when it happens, and when you can capture that, that's the best. So that's-
I totally agree with that. I mean, from my life also.
Oh, there is Sammy.
Yes, he
God.
is pretty big around here with me. Reinhold, hold your thoughts a minute, and when we return, I want to know well, we've talked about who influenced you, but we talked about that, but what I want to know now is, when do we leave for Paris?
Oh yeah.
We'll be right back.
Since when did experience become something to hide? I say we own it. Lose all that negativity. Just let it go. It's just bad energy. Oh, and lose those terrible black balloons they give you on your 50th. What's up with that?
Hey, we hear you. That's why our members love AARP the magazine. It celebrates you with fun and provocative content, from lifestyle and entertainment to in-depth reporting. And it's just one of the great benefits of membership.
If you don't think this is right for me when you think AARP, then you don't know ARP. Get to know us at aarp.org/possibilities.
To be at peace with myself is the most prominent thing, and I am at peace with myself. I didn't deal this deck, I'm just playing the game. That's all. That's it. Meals on Wheels has given me a mode of freedom that I wouldn't have otherwise. Been making sure they get the nutrition that I need, and it's a balanced meal. My name is Maurice McGriff. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Hey, welcome back. And you are tuned into the Bonnie Sher Show, Boomer Life. And we have the pleasure right now of speaking, and I'm really pleased that he's here with me today with Reinhold Schwartzwald. Please join the conversation. Dial 1-323-843-2826 if you have a question or a comment. Or heck, tweet the hashtag BSHER radio and that tweet place, the one that our president has found so interesting. But we aren't talking about him now. We're going to pick up where we left off before, somewhere around there. Let me ask you this. Here's a fun one. If you were not a musician, if you hadn't gone that path, can you think of anything else that you may have wanted to do?
That's a hard one. Because you can't.
Hey, I waited until 2:15 to ask it.
Yeah, how can you imagine not making music? You know, that's a really hard one.
Well, it all depends on how much you work, I guess, would be the answer to
Absolutely.
that. Heaven knows. Have you ever taken a side job away from music? Did you ever?
Well, sometimes like the music business, like it all has its ups and downs, and and this is the roller coaster and all that stuff. I think there's probably not anybody in the business who hasn't done any other jobs.
I think you're
certainly
very right.
have done too.
I think you're very right. Somebody asked me why I became a singer, and I said because I can't type. I don't make any benefits. I never will, but it worked out well with me.
I mean, one thing I like about writers, I was always thinking about writing, and I'm not a writer, but the thing is, with writers, the advantage that they have, they can be at any point on the planet, and they don't need anything. They don't need, they just need themselves, a piece of paper and a pencil or whatever, maybe a computer or something like this. And so that has a certain advantage,
Also, for a female singer, an advantage is having a boyfriend that can accompany you. I think that's probably the sexiest thing. A little love making, then you roll out of the bed if that's where you happen to be, and you sing a little song.
You sing a little song, that's right, yeah. A little serenade in the morning. And
oh, I love that idea. No, I married a psychiatrist. I don't know. Told me that me and all my show business friends were crazy.
Did he analyze you?
Did he analyze me? It was like living gaslight. Tried to convince me that I was crazy. Can you imagine?
So it's like,
that?
yeah. Why did you do that just right now?
Did I marry him?
Why did you say no?
Oh,
why did you say this right now? Right? It was like, did you say this because of this?
Because I probably would have said something worse, but you stopped me. Yeah, holding my tongue has never been my best event. I don't know. Okay, back to my questions. Tell me something fun, a fun fact about you that you haven't told anybody.
A fun fact about me that I haven't told anybody, like a secret or something.
Well, I personally, I won't tell a soul. We only have 150,000 people listening to us, but we're not going to tell anybody,
We're
right?
not going to tell anybody.
Well, see, you just turned red and got away from the question. I'm getting rid of that question. That makes them turn red. Okay, let's see what else do I have here. And look, it's still here. Okay, here's one for you.
Just ripped up your nose.
It's paper. That's what we do. We rip up paper. No, I forgot the question. It's a good thing I saved this piece of paper.
Can I ask you a question?
Why do I have questions? You can ask me.
How was it performing with
Sammy?
With Sammy, and how was it?
Oh my God, it was a joy.
Right.
Although Sammy was a very, very demanding taskmaster.
Can imagine.
I mean, really? I can remember one time I had made a comment, and Sammy said to me, "Bonnie, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And I said, "Really?
Okay.
The dumbest?"
Really?
I was excited about that. Now, he was, I was the luckiest girl in the world. I would go up to the house, and we would sit on the floor and go through piles of albums looking for music until he decided what I was going to sing.
Wow.
I did one time. He let me sing something of my own choosing, and when I came off stage and he was going up, he said, "Who told you to sing that song?" He said, it was a very obscure tune, and he said to me, "Obscure tunes. There's a reason they're obscure. Don't sing them." Well,
no, he was so great. He was so great. What I think what I took away from seeing him live was his generosity on stage. How generous
he was that way in his life. He was in his teaching.
You know,
Everything.
you know what he said?
Except his jewelry.
At the Vienna yeah, exactly, his jewelry. He said,
his Mr. T starter
I'm gonna
kit.
take off my jacket so that you can see my jewelry better. That's what he said, and I loved that. It was so much fun. And then he was at the Vienna Concert House, and then he said, I know Mario Lanza sang in this house, and they didn't use microphones then. So he put down the microphone, put it down on the floor, and then he started singing, and his voice carried through the concert house.
It certainly did. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is I happen to know for a fact that you have a performance coming up now here. I have. Don't get around, right? Tell us about the performance, about where it is, and how people can get there and see you. And we are going to tell you this is a free concert.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going to be performing next week, August 18, at the Los Angeles County Museum of Arts. And it's an outdoor show, and I'm really excited about it. It's a beautiful venue for those who have been to those Friday night concerts. They know it, and the other ones, I invite you to come. Hope to see all of you there. It's a really, really beautiful outdoor setting, and I have a terrific band with me and some special guests, so I'm very excited about it. I played there before, and it was great fun, and so I hope to see you out there August 18 at 6 p.m.
Well, we both hope to see you out there. I can't wait personally. Well, I want to thank you for joining us today, and see if I can figure out where I was here. It's easier to memorize my script, I think, than to keep looking for what I've done here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be on your show.
Anytime, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me. Before I let you go, though, please let our audience know how they can support you, follow you, find your music, all that good stuff.
Yes, so please follow me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Reinhold Schwartzwald. I know I have this long name, but it's really easy to spell. It's ReinholdSchwartzwald. Right? That's me.
I have Bonnie Sher. You see how easy that one is? I used to be his name, but I changed.
And I'm on Instagram. On Instagram, I'm as Rain Soul Sax on Instagram. And also my website, ReinholdSchwartzwald.com. And I hope to see you out there. Hope to see you at one of my future shows.
Well, we'll keep everybody knowledgeable of when these are going to be coming up, but we know the first or the next one, at least for us Los Angelinos and people in the nearby communities, will be Friday, August the 18th at 6 p.m. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
I want more. I want more. I want more. Hugs are good. I wanted more of that. Now, before we go to break, I'd like to acknowledge the important work of the Diabetes Research Institute and encourage you all to support their efforts. There are millions of us with diabetes who dream of a cure for this devastating disease. We dream of living without the painful finger sticks. They call them pricks, but I get in trouble when I say that. Insulin injections, as well as the risk of life-threatening complications. The scientists at the DRI are working hard to make that dream a reality by finding a biological cure, and they're advancing research to patients and changing lives. Please visit them online at diabetesresearch.org. Normally, this is where my song of the day would come in, but I thought today I would give you some Reinhold. So, Reinhold, here we go.
Thank you.
Type 1 diabetes can be living in anyone.
Type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas doesn't produce insulin. It's not caused by your diet. It's not caused by anything you did.
Type 1 diabetes can be very serious.
Blindness, amputation.
Learn more about type 1 diabetes.
Help support JDRF finding a cure.
T1D looks like my brother.
T1D looks like a friend.
Type 1 diabetes looks like me. My next concert is at the Los Angeles County Museum of Arts, August 18 at 6 p.m. I love this venue. It's beautiful. It's outdoors. It's majestic. It's gorgeous. I've played there before. It was great fun. I have an awesome band with me and some special guests. And I would love to see you out there, August 18 at 6 p.m. See you at the Lockman Museum.
That's some kind of playing, huh? Don't forget the 18th. Well, welcome back to the Bonnie Sher Show. My co-host for this segment is Hunter Carlson, who is a member of the T1D community from here in the great state of California. Welcome back, Hunter.
Thanks, Bonnie. Happy to be back.
Hunter was here with us about 7 weeks ago, and we had some difficulty in our transmission. And, well, he's too cute and he knows too much not to have him come back on. This was all a ploy, Hunter, just so you know. I love that blonde smiling face. He's such a... Are you from California originally?
Yep, born and raised, Anaheim Hills.
Yeah,
so
well,
Orange
that's
County.
where the blonde came from. Because we're out in the sunshine.
Just today, I keep having people ask me where I get my hair dyed. I'm like, come on, stop. So,
Well,
it's
nobody
natural.
better ask me that because I'll tell. For those of you who don't know Hunter is with a company called Afresa. No, they manufacture Afresa. The company is actually called...
Mankind.
That's the one. That's what trades on the boards. Lots of
What we're here for,
news.
Mankind.
Lots of news coming up that I've been following. But before we get to the news, why don't you tell our audience a little more about the idea behind Afresa? And I understand not only do you work for the company, but you're a user of the product as well. So put the user hat on for me a second. Tell me, prior to using Afresa, what were you doing? Were you on a pump? Were you on MDI?
Yeah, so I've done everything. So I was, prior to Afresa, on MDI for maybe a year. But prior to MDI, I was on a pump for 10 years, the lovely Medtronic Paradigm pump. So that worked for me in that time period, but I always suffered, just like a lot of other people are, with kind of the roller coaster ride all the time.
Yeah, I know.
And then I got on MDI because I wanted to be in the water a lot more, and it just wasn't fitting with my sports lifestyle. So I was still suffering from high blood sugars all the time and low blood sugars. So I'm like, all right, I need a faster acting insulin. heard about Afrezza and gave it a go and haven't looked back.
One
I've
quick
done
question: when you use Afrezza, are you still needing to use a long-lasting insulin at night? Do you still inject as well, or are you able to control completely by the use of Afrezza?
Yeah, so that was an evolution as well. Now, currently today, I'm on Tresiba and Afrezza only. But to start, I mean, as any diabetic, I think starting any new medication, you're kind of like, oh, I don't know. So I went on slowly, and I just used Afrezza to fix hyper or high blood sugar events above 200. And then I kind of clicked one day and said, why not never hit above 200 and just dose Afrezza with meals. And so I got to the point where I was dosing with meals, and then anytime I hit 160 for me, I can dose 4 units, and then I'll go back down in range within 25 minutes to an hour.
Amazing. Is there anybody? We're talking type 1s now, who shouldn't or can't use this product?
Yeah. So, well, type 1 and type 2. Anyone that has COPD or asthma, we're not approved for. It's a lung function issue. And
What about smokers?
It's not off-label for smokers. We just don't recommend it just because we didn't study in the trials. So it's not off-label though. I mean, if you have that conversation with your doctor, that's up to your doctor and you.
Okay, so it's not a rule out.
No, it's not an official rule out. We're just, as a company, not saying to do it. We can't.
I mean, not that
promote it
anybody
with
should
smokers.
pick up smoking so they can use Afrezza without fear, but
Well, hold on. Let's be clear on that too. It's tobacco. It's not in California legalized weed. So that was just tobacco.
Well, let's talk about that. I would imagine anything that interferes or is going to enter the lungs would be, I don't know, cigar smoking? I mean...
well, I think it has to do with nicotine. So here's where, as a employee, I think it has to do with nicotine in the lungs, and nicotine might affect the absorption is what one might be worried about. Whereas with weed, I don't know. I'm not a doctor, so I can't speak on that either. But I just know that
You just play one on TV, huh?
Right, exactly.
That's what I tell people. I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV, but...
I'm best friends with Dr. Oz. Me and him were on the phone prior to this.
Hey,
so
your best buddy, huh?
So
no,
yeah.
I've been hearing a lot. Well, not a lot. But your company has been in the news quite a bit, and I see that you recently have gotten. I mean, I don't know if I should be saying this, but if it was printed, I guess I can say it. You just got a nice $30 million hit from somebody or from a company. I also see that the other thing that I read was this matchup combination between your company and One Drop.
Yep.
Can you tell us how that is going to work and what the functionality of that is all about?
So I can't go too much into
Okay.
I know
tell me what you can, and you'll call me later and tell me the rest.
Yeah, we'll talk offline on that one. But ultimately, it's to help with the care of type 2 diabetics in terms of becoming more compliant and making the onset of insulin easier and less of a burden than where it is.
I
so
see.
through our study, we're hoping to capture that.
That's very interesting. I've been a T1 now for it'll be 50 years this March. And of course, I go back to when I boiled my syringes. We did have disposable needles, but boiled syringes using either pork or bovine insulin.
And
I never knew about A1Cs. Yeah. It was the exchange system. We knew nobody was counting carbs. And when I think back to those days, and of course I would like to see a cure, like each and every one of us, our families, our friends. But boy, oh boy, what a difference now to what it used to be. I remember lugging jugs of urine to my endo so that he could get a read because we didn't have A1Cs. You had don't drop your pee. And that's...
I don't know how you guys did that. It's so much maintenance. So much. So, I mean, it's good. It's now easy.
Well, I think, and with a lot of the new gadgets that they're using for insulin delivery as well as for testing, sometimes I'm concerned that it's a little overwhelming. And now with people talking about do-it-yourself looping, and I mean, I'm rather resistant to it because I don't want to spend 24/7, although it's hard to walk away from it and forget it. But my bites are pretty much bit when it comes to the technology. I'll learn the technology if it's going to help me. But it just seems like there's so much more now.
And I think that's a positive in the fact of there's so many options for so many different types of people. So
absolutely,
you now can be yourself and have that option to the point where you can still be healthy with diabetes. So yeah, maybe closed loop might be
at least for me,
too much.
At least for me right now, I do wear a pump. I have been off of my sensor for about a year now. I just didn't have enough fat. And so every time I placed a sensor, it would read, no, not this time either, Bonnie. Oh, okay.
Was that Dexcom or
it was a Dex. It was a Dex. However, I did get a call from Dexcom yesterday with them offering me the new G5. Which
good.
I think is my way to go.
I would recommend that for anyone. Knowledge is power. So whether or not you keep it, I mean, at least put it on and get some numbers in there so you know what the trends
one thing I've been thinking about is maybe it would be better for me to go back to MDI as opposed to the pump. That is something I'm considering. I'm running out of places to put all this stuff.
Right. So think about all the scar tissue. A lot of people, I don't know about you, but a lot of people on pumps get scar tissue. So 1 shot a day is now an option with Toshiba, and then you just dose whenever you have a meal or inhale if you are on Afrezza. It's very simple, and there's less scar tissue development with
It's a good thing I have your phone number because I'm going to be calling and asking. Now, what did you say I should do? Well, let me get back to a little bit about the Afrezza. So other than lung issues, is there any other category that it would not be a good idea, or is it pretty much?
No. So the only thing, I mean, so it's just COPD or asthmatics, and I just would say for anyone that is interested in starting Afrezza, if you haven't, it's always just good to know what you're getting into. And the only thing that stands out from our studies outside of injection is the number one side effect's a cough. And to understand what that cough is, you're not used to inhaling. So some of it's going to hit the back of your throat.
Right,
and you're not going to get used to that feeling. And that's it. And so that cough does go away generally. But if you drink water, you should not have that cough sensation. So as long as you don't have like a dry throat, you're not going to feel it as much.
Now, let me ask you one more question about Afrezza. Is it covered by insurance? Or
it is.
There are insurance companies that... Do you know if Medicare will cover it?
Medicare covers it, but the copays are high on Medicare. I know Medi-Cal's covering it great. CalOptima's covering it. A lot of the commercial insurances are covering it. About, I think from what we're seeing, 80% of insurances are covering it today. So
well, also we know that within the next week we are going to be hearing from the insurance companies as to what our rates are going to be and also what they will and won't cover.
Right.
So I want to fight for it all. I think everything should be covered, but that's me.
I think so too. As a diabetic, I don't even want to talk about insurance on this, but I'm happy we're insured, is what I'll say. To be kosher.
But I guess they'll take good care of you. Well, anyway, you look like you're doing great, and I love the field that you're in, and I well understand it, which is probably why I enjoy doing my shows so much. I learn a lot. I love to share my information, and
100%. Me too.
being able to get direct to a source like yourself, who's also a T1, and yes, you work for the company, but you use it yourself, and you
2
speak.
years.
2 years, and your parents thought you'd never hold down a job, right? Hey, all you had to do is become a T1. No, I'm sorry. They adore you, I'm sure. Because I know I've learned to, so what are you going to say?
Hey, did my parents pay you to say that?
Not enough, Hunter. Not enough.
All my friends, I'm finding out, they've been paying them a lot of money for my childhood.
You're better than Google AdSense. Oh my gosh. I mean, I just have to tell your parents that I get a nickel. I would go that works. Well, look, we're going to ask you to come back again and keep this up for us. I'm very interested, I must say, and I'm usually very reticent to try anything new.
Let's do it. I'll do it right now.
Oh my! Oh! Blow it my way! Blow it my way!
There you
it's
go.
like passing the joint. Oh, whatever that means.
I had pizza. Now I'm 140 right now. I had pizza 2 hours ago, so I'm happy with that. So.
I would be ecstatic. I would be ecstatic. That's another thing I wonder about. I mean, I'll look at the amount of carbs in a particular food, and that whole concept of just adding extra coverage, I don't know about that, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think.
Well,
I
so
tend
that's
to.
the best thing about Afrezza, though, because we didn't go over this, but we're fast in and fast out. So we're in the body in 10 to 15 minutes. We're out in 2.5 hours. So you're scared because if you had to dose again with Novolog Humalog, it might be too much and you'd be stacking. Whereas with Afrezza, the risk for stacking is a lot less likely.
Right.
So you're able to be a little bit more aggressive without having to worry about the hypo event as much, right? So it kind of just completely changes the way you think about food and the food you're eating and how you dose with your food. It's a completely different ballgame.
And it goes to work in how many minutes? 10 minutes?
Today I have to tell you 10 to 15 minutes. We're waiting for a label change, which should hopefully come out. And they went over this in our press conference, our quarter conference. In September, we should have a new label, hopefully. So until that point, I have to tell you 10 to 15 minutes today.
10 to 15 minutes it is then. Well, what can I say but thank you for sharing this information with us and for coming back onto the show with me. Stay in touch with me. Please let me know what's going on. And
I'll keep you in the loop.
He's going to make me loop again. I'm loopy enough.
No. Figure of speech. Don't do
I
loop,
know. When I run out of things to say, I tend to get goofy. Loopy even. Well, please share with... Now, you're not on Facebook. I know that. Do you do any of that social mediaization? How can people find you, follow you, hear what you have to say?
I'm on LinkedIn only. So if you want to be professional and follow me, I'm all on LinkedIn. So.
Well, that's pretty cool.
You can email me as well.
Okie dokie. Would you like to share your email address with the world now?
Of course. It's hjcarlson03@gmail.com.
Perfect. Thank you.
I couldn't get the other Carlson, so I had to go with the 03. I know it's not fun, but we'll get used to it.
I know these should be the toughest things. It's just remembering them all. I mean, there's so many things that we have to remember. Take the insulin, don't eat this, don't eat that, and you're a hashtag. I don't know. My mother always used to, may she rest in peace, used to say, Bonnie, but I want to be a .com. That was like the biggest thing in her life. She wanted to be a .com. Well, that didn't happen, but I did. Anywho, thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.
Thank you again, Bonnie.
Be well.
Appreciate it.
Me too. Now, this is me finding my way through my script again. Pardon me. Oh, I know what I do now. I got to hear, and I come down a little bit more. You would think if this would maybe cooperate. Okay, here's what I have to tell you all now. If any of you would like to occupy the place as my T1 co-host, it's very simple. Write me. Let me know. Bonnie at BonnieSher.com. Sher is spelled S-H-E-R. It's really just that easy, and we'll find a date. Next up, Boomer News. Today's Boomer News comes to us from the Wall Street Journal, and it is entitled The Economic Impact When Baby Boomers Retire, and Views from My Soapbox. Back in a couple seconds.
The decision to retire is one of the most important personal financial decisions anyone can make. Well, it turns out that it also has a profound macroeconomic impact that we are only now beginning to appreciate. Economists have known for a long time that as the U.S. population ages, it'll tend to slow down economic growth just because we'll have a smaller workforce as a result. But there's new evidence that suggests there's another impact on the economy that's potentially even more important. Because older workers tend to be the most knowledgeable and the most experienced, when they retire, that hurts the productivity of everybody left behind. And that drags on the economy through productivity growth. These findings come from a new economic research paper that just came out in the last week. The economists looked at all 50 states, they looked at the ones that aged faster, and they found that in those states, economic growth slowed more. About a third of the slowdown was because their workforce wasn't growing as quickly, but the rest of it was because the remaining workers just weren't as productive. You know, this kind of makes sense. Older workers aren't just the ones who are most experienced and capable, they also tend to make the people around them more capable and more confident and knowledgeable about how to do their jobs. If you look around the country right now, there are employers from coast to coast grappling with the fact that some of their most experienced employees are now coming up on retirement, and they're very worried about how to replace them. There's a lot of sort of tribal knowledge that you acquire on the job that you cannot simply teach in college. The country as a whole needs to come to grips with this, because if it doesn't, it's facing a double whammy from the aging of the population. This, I think, adds an extra impetus to a lot of the discussion now that we should do more to extend retirement ages, both in private pensions and in Social Security.
That's a happy thought. Let's all get ready for that now. Okay, so we got time. My soapbox. Now, what my soapbox is all about, I give my shout-outs to people who I believe really get it right. And then, of course, my shout-out, well, that would be the opposite. Those are people who I think should be ashamed. So let's get started with my shout-out is to Amy McGrath, who enrolled in the United States Naval Academy and joined the Marines in 1997. While serving 3 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq, she became the very first female Marine to fly a combat mission in an FA-18 fighter jet. Well, on Tuesday, Ms. McGrath announced her candidacy to become the first woman to ever represent Kentucky's 6th congressional district. She stated, "A year ago, if you were to tell me I was going to be running for Congress, I would have said, 'You're full of it.' But what started it for me was the 2016 election. I feel like we needed better leaders for the country. You go, Amy." Now, my shout down. I want to know, can this possibly get any tougher, this diabetes thing? Not only are our medications increasing in price and our coverage shrinking bit by bit, now it's becoming a fight to obtain covered items. HMOs are holding back and being very slow for the most part. I know that mine has been with approving my supplies. Nowadays, you have to start the process virtually 75 days before you need your supplies, because you have to wait for the HMO to approve it, even though you've used the same thing for months and months and months. Here is yet another stall. Let's make it tough for diabetics, huh? Okay, then, before we say goodbye, I want to thank my guest, Reinhold Schwartzwald, and, of course, Hunter Carlson, and that's our show. And I really hope you'll return next week for another 50-minute trip through the world and the land of Bonnie, boomers, and the T1 community. And until then, please visit BonnieSher.com. Follow the number 1 Bonnie Sher on Twitter, and like the Bonnie Sings Lena Facebook fan page. Now, many of you are aware of the special role that the late Sammy Davis Jr. played in my life. He was my friend. He was my mentor. And what can I say? I loved him, and I still do. So I do end each show sort of Carol Burnett style with a wink and a nod to you, Mr. D. Thank you for everything. And one more thing to add. One of my favorite vocalists passed away this past week. And so a shout out to the memory and the wonderful work. She was just a phenomenal singer. And now I blanked on her name. I shouldn't have told you all that. I'll think of it as soon as I leave the studio. Anybody can tell me who died this week that I'm not remembering? Write it to me. I feel terrible, but I felt worse. Have a great week. Next week. See you. Bye.